Welcome back to Psychologist Reads. I'm Dr. Jordan Soper, a board-certified behavioral and cognitive psychologist and an ASEC-certified sex therapist. To continue our Pride Month readings into July, because let's be real, Pride is every single fucking day, we're going to be reading a segment out of Trans Sex, Nurturing Trans Erotic Embodiment, and Gender Pleasure by Dr. Lucy Fielding. I actually got this book end of last year, yes, after the 2025 ASEC conference here in Vegas in June, which was a wonderful experience, and I really like this book. And particularly, I wanted to really highlight a particular segment out of it right near the end, especially because today actually starts BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month, and I wanted to highlight ways in which intersectionality must be incorporated into all of the work that we do to really emphasize a person-centered, culturally responsive approach to care, and we are going to be reading a bit out of this one in today. Let's get it started. This next section actually comes from Dr. Roger Kuhn, which is talking about Two-Spirit Erotic Embodiment. My hope is many readers will already be familiar with and understand the term Two-Spirit. For those who are unfamiliar, here is a very broad and basic definition. Two-Spirit is a term coined by Dr. Myra Laramie in 1990. It is meant to signify multiple genders and or sexual orientations an Indigenous person may experience. Two-Spirit is an addition and not a replacement for Indigenous languages that may already have a term for gender and sexual orientation. Further, Two-Spirit is a term to be used by and about Indigenous people. Someone who is Two-Spirit may also identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, queer, intersex, asexual, or they may simply identify as Two-Spirit. In simplest terms, Two-Spirit Erotic Embodiment is an act of decolonizing sexuality and erotic survivance. For Indigenous people, acts of decolonization include issues pertaining to land, the body, sexuality, language, spiritual practice, kinship, citizenship, and sovereignty, among many others. Further, erotic survivance is a celebration of the stories, poetry, prose, music, dancing, and gatherings Two-Spirit people express and experience. Let us focus here on decolonizing sexuality and in particular, sexual behaviors for Two-Spirit people. What is it like to make love on your homelands, on land that was stolen from your ancestors? What is it like to make love, have sex, fuck, on land where the genocide of your ancestors was enacted? The answer, of course, will vary depending on who you are asking and may in part be based upon the tribal nations they represent. I argue it is a full emotional, spiritual, mental, somatic, and visceral experience that has yet to be studied in ways that encompass the expansiveness of Two-Spirit erotic embodiment. In addition to the issues around land, beauty and sexual standards need also to be addressed. It is rare to see Indigenous representation in mainstream media. It is even more rare to see Two-Spirit representation in any media. Therefore, Two-Spirit people are constantly subjected to colonizer and settler standards of beauty and sexual desire. What may be deemed attractive amongst other Two-Spirit people, cultural knowledge and practice as examples, is often not considered an attractive attribute by a non-Indigenous sexual partner. Two-Spirit physical features are considered exotic, even though it is European beauty and sexual standards that are exotic on native land. In addition, many Two-Spirit people are multiracial and or multi-ethnic and may also have features of many different racial and ethnic groups. Ethnic and racial minority groups may recognize a desire to incorporate varying Western beauty and sexual standards in a pursuit to assimilate, face less scrutiny about their bodies, and find a sexual partner that comes from the dominant cultural group. Two-Spirit Erotic Embodiment thus requires falling in love, lust, desire with one's identity as an Indigenous person outside of colonial influence and possibly opposed to colonial influence. When this ideology is then applied to the physical acts or behaviors of sex, Two-Spirit Erotic Embodiment is the sensations and feelings that elicit pleasure in the body. The sensations and feelings that one can experience through pleasure are subjective and dependent upon cultural influence and personal issues such as trauma and mental health challenges. Native people may experience damage to self-esteem and self-worth from seeing negative media portrayals of their culture or personhood. This damage may lead to negative feelings about one's body, which can impact how someone is able to feel into their body during experiences that may be pleasurable or elicit pleasure. Further study is needed regarding Native peoples, and in particular Two-Spirit peoples' subjectivity around sexual autonomy. An important aspect of pleasure is consent. Thus, it is imperative that issues around consent be addressed here. Indigenous people of the North American continent and across the world understand that consent does not always apply to them. This has been seen and experienced by land theft, cultural appropriation, boarding schools, environmental issues, and the tragedy of missing and murdered Indigenous people, including women, girls, Two-Spirits. The ongoing issue around consent impacting Indigenous people may add an additional challenge for some Two-Spirit people to feel that they can access pleasure to their body, ask for what they want from sexual partners, set boundaries, and say no. What would it take for a Two-Spirit person to be able to move through the barriers to pleasure they may experience? This is where decolonizing sexuality becomes critical. Two-Spirit people must decolonize their relationship to settler ideologies on beauty, attractiveness, and sexuality, reconnecting with traditional Indigenous knowledge systems and Indigenous ways of understanding and practicing gender and sexual orientation is critical to the decolonizing practice. Further, as decolonization is inherently tied to issues around land, Two-Spirit people can decolonize sexuality by connecting on and to the land with other Two-Spirit people as a form of healing. When the barriers to Two-Spirit erotic embodiment are removed, pleasure inherently becomes a healing modality because of the somatic attunement that can be felt. If colonial impositions are removed, no longer can Western standards of beauty and sexuality be levied against Indigenous people. If colonial impositions are removed, no longer can Western standards of beauty and sexuality be levied against Indigenous people and those Indigenous people who identify as Two-Spirit. Two-Spirit erotic embodiment is like the land. They both elicit a sense of wonder, a curiosity for exploration and understanding. They both have been colonized and settled. They both are seen as desirous and dangerous. They both know how to heal with time. Like the land, Two-Spirit erotic embodiment has learned to survive under extreme conditions. As the land adapts to the impact of human-created climate change, Two-Spirit people adapt to the ongoing impact of social change caused by assimilation efforts of colonial governments and dominant cultural groups. Yet, as the sun greets the land every day, the sun too greets the Two-Spirit community. Through the strength and wisdom of the Two-Spirit elders who traveled this path before us, Their courage and guidance leads us back into our collective circle of healing. Two-spirit sex is trans sex. Two-spirit sex is gay sex. Two-spirit sex is lesbian sex. Two-spirit sex is bisexual sex. Two-spirit sex is two-spirit sex. Two-spirit sex is all of the above and more. Two-spirit sex is indigenous to these lands we now call North America. It is a testament of resiliency, survival, strength, and courage. It is as natural to these lands as snow is to the winter and rain is to the spring. Two-spirit sex has not been eradicated in the 532 years since the discovery of the New World. There is no colonial government. Religious ideology or suppression of cultural beliefs that can eradicate the power of two-spirit erotic embodiment. For any two-spirit person that may read these words, know that you are sacred. Know that you are your ancestors' wildest dreams come true. For any trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming, non-indigenous people that may read these words, know that you too are sacred. We are all surviving in a post-colonial settler nations that seek to divide us and assimilate us into the binaries of gender and sexual orientation. Remember, we are beyond classification. We are the arbiters of peace and passion. We are the curious, the courageous, the compassionate. We are reclaiming our pleasure, and pleasure heals. This book is so good. This book is so amazing and has so much variation and really talks about concepts that a lot of people have not been exposed to look at the intense history, to look at what is currently continuing to impact a variety of different individuals. I feel exceptionally passionate about this particular population and this particular section. I was actually raised right next to tribal land, and it was something that was always a part of my history growing up, and really being able to break those exceptionally harmful negative stereotypes about Indigenous persons, and particularly about two-spirit individuals. I've actually known a number of individuals throughout my career as well as in my personal life. So when we look at increasing our education, when we look at increasing our knowledge, really going into these topics that can be very difficult to talk about, there's a lot of history connected to them, but that is the point, is being able to identify what the historical patterns are, the ways in which those historical patterns are currently still perpetuating harmful, unethical, and violent stereotypes. And how do we then look at engagement and change, particularly when we're talking about sexual patterns of behavior, pleasure, breaking negative patterns. There is so much that can be done. So I really, really hope you will check this book out. It's got a whole variety of different research connected to it, great quotes, great resources. There's the word, I found it. So highly, highly recommend picking this one up when you get an opportunity. Did anything surprise you about anything in this book? Are you familiar with any information about Two-Spirit? What was the favorite thing you learned about today's reading? So, what should I read next? Feel free to put your recommendation down in the comments below about what you would like me to read next, because every Wednesday I am going to be holding myself accountable, and you're going to be on that journey with me to read some of my old favorites, brand new books, articles even, to really emphasize more and more knowledge, and also my love of books, and also being able to hold myself accountable to read some of them. So join me every Wednesday for another episode of Psychologist Reads. See you then.